Hey, my name is Michaela and thank you so much for watching this video. March was a really crazy month for me and I did basically no reading. There was a lot going on and I just didn't really have the time. So as I'm sure you can tell by the title of this video, I'm doing my March and April wrap up in this one video. So I started off the month with a book club read, and this is The Rainfall Market by Yu Yong Guang. I am so sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but that is my best effort to say it right. And this is a story about a young girl named Saren who has the opportunity to go to what they call the Rainfall Market. So in order to get a ticket, you have to send a letter detailing basically how horrible your life is. So she sends a letter telling about how horrible her life is, and she gets a ticket in return. So she goes to this old abandoned house at the beginning of the rainy season and gets transported to the Rainfall Market. And as she travels through the Rainfall Market, she gets these globes that show her what her life could be like what her perfect life could end up looking like. And she basically has to choose one before the end of the week or she will be stuck in the Rainfall Market forever. So this is a cute little story about her going through the Rainfall Market and trying to decide which globe she wants to use for her perfect life. So this book is marked as adult, but I would actually consider this to be young adult because the writing is very young in my opinion. And I will say you are following a young girl, so I kind of understand it on one hand, but I don't think this should be adult. I think it should be young adult. With that being said, I did give this book 2 stars. The story was cute. It was a great story about how she was trying to find her perfect life. But like I said, it should have been young adult. It was kind of boring, if I'm being honest, and just I feel like my reading level is above this. So yes, I gave this 2 stars. Then I picked up Wild Side by Elsie Silver. This is book 3 in the Rose Hill series, and it follows Tabitha and Reese, who do show up in the other 2 books. So it's kind of a nice continuation on that. This is a marriage of convenience. So like in most of the other books in the Rose Hill series, it does feature like a single parent. The 2 main characters of this book are not the biological parents of this child, but they end up taking care of the child when the parent passes away. And the one thing that I didn't like about this book is the fact that you don't really see them connecting with the child. It's just already there because they've known him for a while. And that's the one thing I didn't like, because in the other 2 books you see the children connecting with one of the main characters, and this one just kind of fell flat on that for me. But it was still a good read. I still love Elsie Silver books, and I still rated this one 3.5 stars. So Wild Side by Elsie Silver, 3.5 stars. So I actually did start 2 other books in the month of March, but I actually ended up DNFing both of them. So the first book that I DNF'd is Don't Let Go by Michael Bussey. This is a story about a family that goes on vacation and the mother ends up going missing, and eventually the child ends up going missing as well, and the main suspect is the husband. I think the main reason that I didn't end up liking it is because it was told in 3rd person, and you're also getting a lot of different point of views, but they're all in 3rd person. And I think it's just because I don't typically like 3rd person reading, and that was the issue for me. And also I was like really confused through a lot of this book. I feel like I did give it a really good try. I think I got like 200 pages in, and the entire book I want to say is almost 400. So I got about halfway, and I was just really struggling to get through this one. And as we can see, I was struggling the whole month. And it's a soft DNF. Like, I will try to read it again, I think. I just might not have been in the mood for it, so I'm gonna circle back around to this one eventually. So the next book that I ended up DNFing in March was Trick by Natalia Jaster. This is a fantasy series about the Princess of Autumn who goes to the Spring Court, and the Spring Court is supposed to be like the flirty, sexualized court where there's a lot going on, and she's like really uptight about it. And she meets the court jester, who is supposed to be a little bit of a player and is known for sleeping around. He leaves a little strip of red ribbon for the people that he chooses, and then they meet up, whenever. And I think I think the reason that I didn't like this book is because genuinely I think I was too stupid to grasp what was happening. There were a lot of big words, really fancy. I just felt stupid reading this series, and I really tried to continue with this. I think I started this in February, and I was trying really, really hard to continue with it, and there were parts that were really good. I thought it was really well written, but genuinely I just felt stupid reading this series. So unfortunately I did have to DNF it, and I will not be circling back to this one to try again. So overall, I only made it through 2 books in the month of March, which is pretty sad, but 2 books is better than no books, so at least I got through 2 of them. So April was definitely a better reading month for me. I've read a total of 5 books, which I think is pretty good compared to the 2 books that I read in March. So the first book that I picked up in the month of April is Knights of Steel and Shadow by Shannon Dury. This is actually book 2 in the Darkest Flame series, and it follows Vera and Ronan and their adventures after the first book. I do not want to say too much just because I don't want to give anything away, because there would kind of be some spoilers after the ending of the first book. So I will say that I really enjoyed this, and I did give it 4 stars. So the next book that I picked up in the month of April is The Highland Fling by Megan Quinn. This is a story about Bonnie and her best friend Dakota, who take a job working at a small cafe in Scotland. So they relocate to Scotland for, I think it's 6 months that they agreed to run the cafe while the owners went on vacation. And it is there that they meet the owner's son, who is trying to keep everything together while the parents are away, and his name is Rowan. So I thought this book was hilarious. Bonnie herself is hilarious, really kind of carefree, and Dakota is kind of the more sensible one of the best friends. And it was just a really cute time. Rowan and Bonnie have great banter together. It was just an adorable book. I really liked it, and I ended up giving this book 4 stars. So the next book that I picked up is Soundless by Richelle Mead. And can we just take a second to admire this cover? Like, look how pretty that is. Gorgeous. And so this story is about a young girl named Faye, and her village lives on top of a mountain. And then they have the miners who work long hours in order to send the rocks down the mountain to the people who then send them food in return. And unfortunately, the people in this village do not have the ability to hear. You find out why later on, but in the beginning, it's not clear as to why they don't have their hearing, so everyone speaks in sign language. And Faye's job is to record what happens every day, and they record this by painting the images, or painting text for the records and just for news, because it's not like they can just go out and talk about what happened. So because they rely on somebody else to send food up the mountain, because they can't grow plants or anything where they are, they're basically starving because they're not getting enough food from the people who are sending the food up to them. So Faye and her childhood crush, Leeway, end up climbing down the mountain, which nobody has really done before because it's really treacherous and the mountainside isn't stable. So her and her friend end up climbing down the mountain to go speak to the line keeper themselves to ask for more food and, try and make things better for their village. So I don't want to spoil it, but I will say that they do make it down the mountain. And they kind of learn some interesting things when they get to the bottom. I will say that after I finished this book, I did read some other reviews that were on Goodreads about people not really enjoying this book. I thought it was really good. It kept my interest, and you know, like I wanted to keep coming back to it. I found myself wanting to continue reading until I was finished, obviously. And I thought this book was really good, so I actually ended up giving it 4 stars. So then I picked up this book called Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, and this is book 1 in the Me Before You series. This story is about a young lady named Louisa who goes to take care of a quadriplegic named Will Traynor. And I thought, based on this cover, that this book was going to be really cute, really sweet little love story. Yeah, this book ripped out my heart. Quite literally ripped out my heart, and I was bawling after I finished this. So I won't say any more about that just because I don't want to give it away. But this is definitely not a cute little romance. This is an emotional, deep book. And like I'm tearing up just thinking about it, so it was pretty sad. But with that being said, I did give this book 4 stars. It was really good, really emotional, like I said, great representation of like grief, that they, you know, like because he's wheelchair bound, he's obviously has a lot of emotions with that. And it was really, really, really good. So I ended off the month reading this novella called Scream for Us by Molly Doyle. The main character, Quinn, goes to a Halloween party where she meets a few masked men who are dressed as Ghost, Michael Myers, and Jason Voorhees. So these 3 masked men end up protecting her from some unruly drunk guys at the party, and basically end up saving her from getting assaulted. This is a very spicy book that involves all of them together, so definitely check your trigger warnings before reading this novella or this series in general, but very spicy, very heavy smut little plot type of book. And I did give this book 3 stars, so I did enjoy it. I do love a masked man trope. It was very good. There just was not a lot of plot. I'm thinking that the other books in the series are gonna go into more depth because this was just a novella. It was like 80 something pages. It wasn't very long. And those are all the books that I read in the month of April. Thank you so much for watching this March and April wrap up.